All right, today we're doing something really cool. We're going to travel back in time to the 17th century and sit in on one of the greatest scientific debates in history. And we're not just going to talk about it, we're going to hear it unfold through the words of the man himself, Galileo Galilei, from his incredible work, The Dialogue Concerning the Two Chief World Systems. So let's step into this courtroom of ideas and hear the case for a brand new universe. And yeah, Galileo was not a shy guy. With a statement like this, he's basically throwing down the gauntlet. He's declaring to the whole world, hey, pay attention to what we're doing here in Italy. He frames this whole thing as a showcase for Italian genius, and you can just feel it, right? He's setting the stage for this massive intellectual showdown, where a worldview that had stood strong for almost 2,000 years was about to be put on trial. So how does Galileo do this? Well, he's clever about it. He structures his argument like a play, a conversation that takes place over 4 days. And at the heart of this whole debate, you've got three main characters. First, there's Salviati. He's brilliant, he's persuasive, and he's basically Galileo's stand-in, armed with all the new evidence. His opponent is Simplicio, a staunch defender of the old ways, a true believer in the science of Aristotle. And then, caught right in the middle, is Sagredo. He's the smart, open-minded guy who represents us, the curious listener who just wants to figure out what's really going on. Okay, so what exactly is this established order that Salviati's about to tear down? For centuries, the universe was thought to be centered on the Earth. This was the geocentric model, and it was all built on the ideas of the ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle. But you gotta understand, this wasn't just some star chart. It was a complete philosophy, a whole way of understanding the cosmos. At the very core of Aristotle's universe was this huge split. You had two totally different realms. Up there, in the celestial realm, the moon, the sun, the planets, the stars, everything was perfect, eternal, divine, and it never changed. But down here on Earth, in our terrestrial realm, it was the total opposite. This was the place of change, of decay, of imperfection. We were sitting, corruptible, at the very center of everything. And here's Simplicio laying it out plain and simple. For him, this isn't just an idea, it's straight up logic. The heavens are perfect, Earth is not, so boom, they have to be made of completely different stuff. And you have to remember, for hundreds and hundreds of years, this wasn't just a theory, it was science. It was the bedrock of their understanding. But things were starting to change. By the time Galileo comes along, new observations, especially thanks to the brand new telescope, were starting to poke some serious holes in this whole idea of a perfect, orderly cosmos. When you actually looked closely, the universe just wasn't playing by Aristotle's rules anymore. The stage was set for something new. And this leads to the big question, the really revolutionary one that Galileo's work forces everyone to confront. What if the heavens aren't perfect? I mean, it sounds simple, right? But the implications were massive. Because if the heavens can change, if they're not perfect, then that entire Aristotelian system, that fundamental split between the heavens and the earth, well, it might just be completely wrong. And the evidence was just piling up. I mean, astronomers were seeing new stars, what we'd call novae, that would just appear and then fade away. That's change right there in the heavens. Then comets were seen zipping right through the space where these perfect, solid crystal spheres were supposed to be. And with the telescope, oh man, the sun itself had dark, shifting spots on it. And the moon, it wasn't some perfect, polished orb. It was covered in mountains and valleys, looking a whole lot like our supposedly imperfect Earth. So Salviati, who's really Galileo speaking here, he just hammers this point home with the sunspots. The way they appeared in the middle of the sun's disk and then vanished before reaching the edge, that proved they couldn't be planets passing in front. No way. They had to be features forming and dissolving on the sun itself. This was undeniable visual proof of change, of generation and corruption in the one place it was never, ever supposed to happen. Okay, so the old model is clearly starting to crack under the weight of all this new evidence. So Galileo brings in the alternative, the Copernican system, with the sun at the center, the heliocentric model. And this wasn't just some wild new idea for the sake of it. The beauty of it was that it offered a much, much simpler and more elegant explanation for what astronomers were actually seeing in the sky. But one of the biggest arguments against a moving Earth was, pretty common sense. If the Earth is moving so fast, why don't we feel it? Why aren't we all just blown away? And Salviati's response to this is just brilliant. He uses this analogy of a ship. He says, imagine you're down below deck in a big ship that's sailing smoothly. Inside that cabin, a fly can buzz around normally, a drop of water falls straight down into a bottle. You don't feel the ship moving forward at all, do you? That's because everything in the cabin, you, the air, the fly, is all moving together with it. And that right there is the core of what we now call relative motion. It's the exact same idea with the Earth. The reason we don't feel it hurtling through space is because everything, us, the atmosphere, the clouds, every single building, we're all on this ship together. Our shared motion makes it feel like we're standing still. The only way you can tell you're moving is by looking at something outside the system, like the sun and the stars. Now, maybe the biggest win for the Copernican model was how it so elegantly explained something called retrograde motion. This had baffled astronomers forever. It's when planets like Mars sometimes look like they stop and move backward in the sky. To explain this, the old system needed these crazy, complicated add-ons called epicycles, literally circles moving on top of other circles. It was a mess. But if the Earth is moving, the puzzle just solves itself. Picture this. Earth is on an inner, faster track than Mars. So as we overtake Mars in our orbit, our changing perspective makes Mars appear to slow down, stop, and move backward. It's an illusion. It's just like passing a slower car on the highway. Suddenly, a clunky, inaccurate model is replaced by something beautifully simple. And this really brings us to the heart of the matter. This whole debate wasn't just about stars and planets. It was a massive philosophical clash. It was about two totally different ways of knowing the world. Do you trust the authority of ancient books and what you've always been told? Or do you trust what you can see with your own eyes and figure out with your own mind? Sagredo just nails the desperation of the traditionalists with this amazing metaphor. He says it's like watching someone who built this magnificent palace, but on bad foundations. And as it starts to crumble, instead of admitting the foundation is bad and rebuilding, they just keep adding more props and chains and supports, trying to patch a system that is fundamentally broken. And then Galileo, through Salviati, delivers this just masterful checkmate move. He points out the ultimate irony. The person who argued most strongly that you should trust what you can directly observe over any logical argument was Aristotle himself. So Galileo isn't just trashing Aristotle, he's basically saying, hey, I'm the one who's actually following Aristotle's own rules here by putting observation and evidence first. It's a brilliant move. So when you get right down to it, moving the Earth from the center of the universe wasn't just about redrawing a star map. It was a huge, profound shift in how humanity saw its own place in the cosmos. I mean, yeah, you could see it as a demotion, but in another way, you could see it as something incredibly liberating. And Sagredo asks this question that just flips the whole old way of thinking on its head. He's like, wait a minute, did nature really create all these incredible divine stars and planets just to serve our little changeable mortal Earth, to serve what you call the dregs of the universe? He's suggesting that if Earth is just another planet orbiting the sun, then maybe, just maybe, the entire universe wasn't made just for us. It points to a grander, less human-focused cosmos, where Earth isn't the corrupt bottom of the barrel, but a noble participant in a vast and majestic cosmic dance. You see, Galileo's struggle wasn't really just about planets in the end. It was about having the courage to follow the evidence no matter where it takes you, even if it completely shatters your most deeply held beliefs. And that makes you wonder, right? What are our modern perfect heavens? What are the accepted truths we all hold on to that we think are totally unshakable, that might just be waiting for a new telescope, a new observation, to show us a universe that's far grander and stranger than we ever imagined?